Hello all! Well, a Star Trek Picard trailer dropped for Season 2, so let's take a look at that for lore tidbits. Straight up, this seems like it's going to be a tale about an alternate universe that Picard and the crew are aware of, and that they're trying to find their way back to the Prime timeline. And Q is in it, which of course means that the assumption is that Q did it, but let's be fair, it's always an assumption that Q did something. From the way the dialogue unfolds, it suggests that Q has brought Picard and the crew of the La Sirena into a different timeline. The end of the road not taken, as it is said. The road not taken suggests a choice that created this branch reality, akin to the Star Trek Parallels episode, where differing choices are played out across multiple timelines. A lot of that going around at the moment. So the question on my mind is, what timeline are we in? We have two options: a previously unrealised timeline, or one that we have seen before. The most prevalent being, of course, the Mirror Universe. I don't want it to be the Mirror Universe, because as much as I like it, I hate seeing it overplayed, and Discovery has already dealt a lot with that. But there is evidence to suggest this might be the case. I would much rather have a story centred around a choice made by Jean-Luc Picard himself instead, which I think would have a much stronger emotional investment from the crew if that were the case. I don't see Q rocking up just to show Picard the Mirror Universe. It's far more likely to me that he pulls a TNG tapestry and is showing an alternate history relevant to Picard as a person. If that's the case, then I want to see what the divergent point is, the decisions made in the Prime that would have resulted in this Series 2 timeline. And honestly, there are many. The most obvious is that it's something to do with the Romulan evacuation from 2381 to 85. Either it was never attempted at all, or it succeeded altogether. I also think there are many shots in this trailer that are not from this alternate timeline, but the original one. We see several scenes set in Starfleet Command, or around it, where Picard is delivering a speech. Now, he is surrounded by officers in 2399 era uniforms, and he is wearing a new Admiral's jacket, different from the ones we saw in 2385, so this is not a flashback. The badges here are also the same we saw in last season. I suspect Picard has re-entered Starfleet at his old rank of Admiral to help the organisation get back to what it should be doing, and this may even be a turn-of-the-century speech as the calendar ticks over to the 25th century. The emblem the camera pans over is that of the Prime Starfleet, since the 2380s anyway, and the officers around him are surrounded by the flags of the Klingon Empire, the Tellarites, the UFP, Starfleet, Starfleet Academy, Vulcan, Bajor, and Ferenginar. The officers before each one are not of those species, but may be representing them, but I doubt that. Also, Raffi is back in uniform too, and I think this is all to show what the crew are up to post-standoff over Coppelius. Additionally, we get a shot of Soji outside an embassy in formal wear, adorned with her twin pin and a diplomatic-looking badge. I can't make out what it is, but it's blue and round. I say Soji because I believe this too is from a scene in the Prime universe, and she is here as an ambassador of Coppelius. But then we get reaction shots of Laris, who alongside her husband Zaban is one of the displaced Romulans, formerly Tal Shiar, who helped Picard around his chateau and moonlight as his security. But from the initial scenes we see that she is missing, something that has bamboozled Picard, and then Q appears to hopefully exposition all over Picard. Wait, no, hang on, let me rephrase that. Evidently, the alteration that was made, either by Q, Picard or something else, has removed Laris from the chateau, which is why I think this concerns the Romulan evacuation. Again, it either never happened or went flawlessly. We also see Rios examining his surroundings on the La Sirena as if he too has awoken to find himself in an alternate history. There is much branding around the props of the bridge and his ship, suggesting that he is operating it on behalf of what looks like Starfleet. He's even wearing a badge with a singular bar on it, but a different badge to the one we just saw at Picard's speech. This badge may actually be able to tell us a lot more than simply being, hey, alternate universe. Now, I am going to break it down from a design point of view, which is always open to interpretation if you don't know the designer's original intent, but I'ma do it anyway. First up, it is symmetrical, not askew, like the standard Starfleet Delta has always been. This is a more classic Delta shape as used today, so we are looking at a Starfleet that has made a radical shift at some point, reflected in the design. Secondly, it has lost any backplate and is now a single arrowhead design, noticeably tapered at the edges. This gives it an undeniably sleeker look to it, but also one more representative of a blade. It evokes imagery of a dagger or a sword more than a star, which is sort of what the TNG era badges lent into. On top of this, it even has a fuller carved into it, the groove you see on most bladed weapons, reducing their weight. I think overall this design is supposed to evoke a more aggressive, lethal style, so the culture that designed it may follow similar ideals. Also, the only other times we saw bars used as rank indicators on a badge were in the TNG episodes Future Imperfect about an illusionary future, and Parallels, where they were on one of the alternate badges in a timeline visited by Worf. Shenanigans badges. Presumably then, this Starfleet is less than benign, and that would be why Picard wants to get everyone out of here and back to their homes. Again, we might be seeing a Starfleet that continued down a path of becoming increasingly insular, which, following the Borg, the Dominion, the Romulan crisis, was a very real threat. Now it's at the point where it is less of a diplomatic unification and more of an empire. Speaking of empires, what if this is the Terran Empire? Again, I doubt it, but the sword-esque motifs of the badge lean towards that style. The thing that throws a curveball into my idea of it being centred on the Romulans is 7 of 9. She awakens, also displaced by this alteration, in a very nice double bed surrounded by her things that she doesn't recognise, and with a trade-in of accessories. She has no visible Borg implants, and she's wearing a wedding ring. So how far back is this road that was never taken? Because the Romulan thing happened in 2385, and Annika Hansen was assimilated in 2356. So either we are looking at a timeline change from decades ago, which reduces the likelihood of Picard being the culprit or involved, or she still has those implants and has just undergone further procedures to remove some of them. She also has a badge on the desk, a third one, and different still from the previous. This one I have a hard time placing. It uses the same colour scheme as the Romulan Free Movement from Season 1, so she could still be placed in the former neutral zone, but nothing else screams Romulan to me about it. I see similarities with the Vulcan Idic, notably the background. The four-pointed star sort of resembles the Starfleet Command Division logo, but that has 5 points. And I see nothing else that denotes the UFP. 8 baubles could symbolise 8 planets, making this a Sol system representation, but now I'm just speculating with no basis, so I'll leave it there. We also have a shot of Raffi and another in an alleyway or something running away from a recently downed opponent, but there is not enough here to tell where they are. Free Cloud, Kronos, Earth, I don't know, I couldn't see enough of the signs or languages to place it, and even if I did, well, there's no reason to assume that they're not just in a district with multiple cultures. My final idea is that what if this is a custom reality created by Q, who has changed one detail in each of their lives? 7 was never assimilated, Rios was never drummed out of Starfleet, Picard's Romulan plan was altered, and so on. Quite why he would do this? I don't know, because it doesn't seem like a present, considering Picard and everyone want out, but that wouldn't be entirely inconsistent with previous Q actions either. Thanks for watching this breakdown and analysis of the trailer. I'm off to go binge watch other breakdowns now to see what I missed, because there is bound to be something. Let me know your theories so we can discuss, because I presume if you watched this far, then you are like me and you enjoy unravelling a mystery because it doesn't hinder the enjoyment for you. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time for another video. I've been Rick, and goodbye.